Throughout its lifetime, Solana went through multiple phases. In 2022, we had the decentralized finance summer. There was a lot of borrowing and lending happening on Solana. There was also leverage, inherent leverage via stablecoins, all minted on Solana. Then came DeFi winter, and then came the Memecoin trading. Pump.fun, an exclusive launchpad for meme coins on Solana. Now, unfortunately, over time, the meme coin trading has slowed down more and more, and with it, the Solana price. The question is, does it make sense to buy the bottom now? We're going to have a look at some on-chain data, the data most people are not considering. What we see here, that's the total value locked on the Solana chain. How much capital is currently deployed in the various applications on Solana. Now here is the DeFi summer with subsequent winter, and then the expansion starting in October, November of 2023. It's a TVL measured in Solana, not measured in US dollars. So we exclude the price volatility of Solana itself, and we are very close to the all-time high. There might be an invisible ceiling here, because when we look at the Solana US dollar price, there's also an invisible ceiling, the $260 mark. This was the peak in 2021. It was also a peak in 2024 and this year as well. Whenever Solana hits $260, it seems to be profit-taking time. But does it make sense to get now into Solana versus other cryptocurrencies? How is the relative valuation? Because have a look at this. This is the Solana market cap relative to the others market cap. So others is all the altcoins that are not in the top 10. Solana, of course, is inside the top 10 and did outperform most other altcoins most of the time. It's on the higher end of the trading range, unfortunately, though. But if you just take that growth rate that's implied by those white lines, we get to an outperformance of 160% over the course of 4 years. Currently, more shorter term, the potential risk versus other altcoins is minus 67%. The potential reward is plus 47%. Now we know that 2021 was due to decentralized finance and 2025 was due to Pump.fun. Now the way how the Solana price appreciated during those two rallies is quite different actually. Have a look at this. This is again the Solana price over time, but compare this with the open interest on the perpetual futures market. That's the green area chart. We can see that open interest grew much faster than the Solana price. In other words, there is an increase of leverage in Solana through the perpetual futures. More and more people are betting on Solana for short-term trading. That's what perpetual futures are for. Short-term trading with leverage, with low slippage, where then arbitrage bots balances out with the spot price over time. But clearly, there was way less perpetual futures leverage in 2021 compared to 2025. And there is correlation between the two, right? When there is less open interest on an asset, the spot price tends to go down. When there's more open interest, the spot price tends to go up. Interestingly enough though, if we look at Solana as a fraction of all of crypto, so we look at the Solana dominance. Most people just know Bitcoin dominance, but there's also Solana dominance. When we look at that, it seems like we are at a support. Of course, if we enter a full-blown bear market, as we have seen during DeFi summer in 2022, then Solana can underperform the rest of the market by more than 80%. But if we do not enter a full-blown bear market, then there is the potential for a bounce that Solana could outperform the rest of crypto by more than 60% from here. It's make or break right now. If we do not keep the support at 2.2% dominance, that would be very bearish for Solana. Still, very long term, if we include bear markets and bull markets, Solana tends to do better than most other alts. And one of the main reasons for that is the high token inflation for many altcoins. So usually altcoin projects start with a very small circulating supply, then we get more marketing, we get more development, and then over time, early investors and the team, etc., they get token unlocks. They have vesting unlocks. And those unlocks increase the circulating supply of a project. Now, every week, we tend to have around 700 million worth of altcoin unlocks. And that's only for the altcoins that are tracked on Tokenomics AI. I don't really like doing it, but that's how the YouTube game works. That's how the algorithm works. Please give this video a like if what you've seen so far has been useful. Thank you very much. Bitcoin, for comparison, has only 284 million of weekly unlocks. That's now through Bitcoin mining. So the unlocks by the altcoin market are 2 to 3 times larger. And that's happening while Bitcoin's market cap is 9 times larger than the market cap of the altcoins. In other words, relatively speaking, the altcoins see 20 times more selling pressure by the early investors, by the insiders, by token inflation. And so because Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana is relatively stable in supply, does not have as much supply expansion, they tend to, over the cycles, outperform most other altcoins. That's why the chart looks the way it is. That's why Solana, over the course of those 4 years, outperformed by roughly 140%. On top of that, we've also got Wall Street interest. We've got the ETFs, we've got the treasury companies, and while this effect is strongest for Bitcoin, then followed by Ethereum, we might also get some institutional demand through similar entities for Solana. We don't see that for the smaller altcoins. And so all of those effects combined is the reason why most altcoins are down 50, 60, 70, even 80 and 90% over the course of a single year, while Bitcoin was comparatively stable, right? It only lost roughly 10% this year. There's clearly no attention on crypto anymore. There's no excitement at all. Even if we have a token that makes multiple X returns, nobody is interested in that anymore. Here, let me show you an example, right? I've got the social metrics here as a YouTube creator. So we've got the pump.fun ecosystem on Solana. In the last 24 hours, we had 2.5 billion worth of trading volume. This is very impressive, but most of that is just wash trading. Most of that is manipulation. This is not real people trading. The overall trading volume on Solana is 4.4 billion. So the majority of trading volume on the chain is pump.fun. Now on Solana, we've got the official Trump token. We've got the token of pump.fun itself. And then we've got the first token that's launched via pump.fun, Pippin. So Pippin is the third most liquid token on Solana. Now Pippin had roughly 1,000 wallets interacting with it in the last 24 hours. And over the last weeks, it made a massive rally, 1,500%. And it's now the largest pump.fun ecosystem token. It's got a market cap of 382 million. It has flipped Fartcoin, it has flipped Mudang, it has flipped all kinds of pump.fun ecosystem tokens. So all of that growth and now becoming number one in pump.fun should, in theory, also get a lot of eyeballs on the token. But that is not what we see. Have a look at the first Pippin token published on this channel. This was 336 days ago. That video underperformed the average video on this channel. The average video is here, this area in gray. Another video 18 days ago also underperformed. Here's another video published 8 days ago. It also underperformed. So we've got the biggest success story on the Solana chain in the last weeks and nobody cares. Have a look at the pump token relative to Solana. Since launch, it underperformed by more than 50%. And that's happening while apparently there are so many buybacks of the token. All of that trading volume that we looked at, right? The majority of Solana's trading volume, that leads to fees, and those fees lead to pump purchases. Apparently more than 213 million worth of pump purchases, yet pump underperforms Solana. And again, the reason is the same for Pump as it is for many other altcoins. Pump does have an inflating token supply. Now, interestingly enough, it seems like the supply hasn't changed since launch, but we never really know what's going on under the hood. Maybe the team is doing some over-the-counter deals to potentially offload some tokens already, selling the tokens at a discount to outsiders, and then the outsiders bet on falling prices via the perpetual futures market. That then also directly impacts the price. In other words, the official token unlock schedules are not really reliable. We don't really know what's happening under the hood. What's really important is just that the token in general is inflating, that there is going to be new tokens that are going to hit the market. How they will hit the market, if that's officially or if that's unofficial via OTC deals, we don't really know. And so while I do believe that Solana is very likely going to outperform most altcoins over the very long term because of its low token inflation, there is quite a bit of risk on betting on the current bounce, because if we are entering a bear market, Solana is very likely going to get sold off more than average. The leading project in terms of trading volume on Solana is already struggling massively. A buyback program can't help the price. And so really what I think needs to happen is we need to see optimism again. We need to see money flowing into the market again. This is the stablecoin market cap over time, and over the last 2 months, we've only gone up by roughly 1%. The growth of stablecoins, the inflows into crypto have slowed down dramatically. In the past 2 months led to stablecoin growth of 12%, not just 1%. And of course, at the same time, we see all the long-term holders offloading. They're already selling since Bitcoin hit 110K, and they've accelerated their selling. And only when they start buying again, I might become optimistic again. I might buy the dip. That would, of course, also disproportionately help Solana. But right now, I'm still cautious. Now, talk is cheap. It's easy to make YouTube videos say that the price will 10x or that we're going to see a crash. But really, what matters is what's the long-term performance. Are those people publishing on YouTube actually outperforming the market? You might have noticed that the majority of YouTubers never share their numbers. They never say how much they've outperformed a benchmark. They never say how much better they performed relative to Bitcoin, relative to the S&P 500. But I do believe that this channel is different. I do share my numbers, at least the relative numbers. This is my net worth over the last 4 years. So this is a monthly chart. And of course, it does include dollar cost averaging. It does include saving from active income. But here's my trading portfolio, the line in black, relative to if I had just dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin. And this is really in the end what matters, right? Does your trading activity outperform the benchmark? Most altcoins tend to underperform Bitcoin most of the time, and you're able to achieve that performance over several years, and you're probably on the right track. There is a lot of volatility in returns though. This is the alpha, positive and negative, versus buying and holding Bitcoin for each single month. The dotted line over here, that's the 12-month average. So on average over the entire time frame, the alpha is 1.6% per month. Do you see any other YouTubers sharing those kinds of numbers? Most YouTubers just say that you should buy this coin or you should buy that coin. But the problem is, especially the smaller altcoins, they tend to underperform massively. This is the performance of some smaller altcoins over the course of the last year. Many of them went down by 70%, by 80%, even by 90%. And so chances are you did not outperform Bitcoin if you just followed that advice. Chances are you've lost 50, 60, 70%. Now, nobody can know for certain where a price is going. Nobody has a crystal ball, but we can play the probabilities. Some assets are more likely to go up, other assets are less likely to go up. And when it's about probabilities, we simply use statistics. I've optimized various backtests, checking out the best leverage ratios, checking out the best systematic trading rules that actually do outperform just buying and holding Bitcoin over the years. And so for everybody that's done with this kind of crypto advice that ends in losses anyways, I have made some videos, some tutorial videos that actually build skill. I'm also running exclusive Q&A sessions every now and then. You can ask me your questions directly in a live stream. And then if you want to dive deeper, you can also get into the individual trades. I share all of my trades directly as well in real time. So looking very much forward to seeing you in the premium membership. The link to premium pops up here on the screen. Just click on that. It will lead you to the website. If it's the very first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. See you next time on YouTube or see you in premium. Cheers.